Dear students, today we learn about summary and conclusion of Hindu tradition. Here we will be learning about Hindu scriptures, Hindu dharma, Hindu tenets, Hindu ethics, Hindu rituals and practices, philosophy and mythology, and last some concluding thoughts. Let's begin with the Hindu scriptures. Another name of Hinduism is Vedic Dharma, meaning the religion of the Vedas. Hindu sacred texts can be classified as the six scriptures: Shrutis, Smritis, Itihas, Puranas, Agamas, Darshanas, and the four secular writing that includes Subhastishatas, Kavyas, Natak Sandh, and Alankars. The Shrutis are called the Vedas. These are direct intuitional revolutions and are held to be apurusha or entirely superhuman, without any author in particular. The word Veda means knowledge. The Veda is the source of other five scriptures, even of the secular and the materialistic. The Vedas are divided into four great books: the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sam Veda, and the Atharva Veda, which are further divided into subparts and sections. Each Vedas consists of four parts: the Mantra Sahitas, the Brahmanas, or explanations of the mantras or the rituals, the Arankas, and the Upanishads. The Upanishads are the most important portion of the Vedas. The Upanishads contain the essence or the knowledge portion of the Vedas. The Upanishads speak of the identity of the individual soul and the supreme soul. Next in importance to the Shruti are the Smritis or secondary scriptures. These are the ancient sacred law codes of Hindus dealing with the Sanatan Varnashram Dharma. The Smritis are based on the teachings of the Vedas. It explains and develops Dharma. It lays down the laws which regulate Hindu national, social, family, and individual obligations. The laws for regulating Hindu society from time to time are codified in the Smritis. There are 18 main Smritis or Dharma Shastras. Next come the Itihas. It consists of four books: the Valmiki Ramayana, the Yog Vashishta, the Mahabharata, and the Harivansa. The most important part of the Mahabharata is the Bhagavad Gita. It is a marvelous dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield before the commencement of the Great War. These embody all that is in the Vedas, but only in a simple manner. These works explain the great universal truths in the form of historical narratives, stories, and dialogues. The common man cannot comprehend the high abstract philosophy of the Upanishads and the Brahma Sutras. Hence, the compassionate sages Valmiki and Vyas wrote the Itihas for the benefit of the common people. Next come the Puranas. They contain the essence of the Vedas. The aim of the Puranas is to impress on the minds of the masses the teachings of the Vedas and to generate in them devotion to God through concrete examples, myths, stories, legends, lives of saints, kings, and great men, and the chronicles of great historical events. The Puranas were meant not for the scholars, but for the ordinary people who could not understand high philosophy and who could not study the Vedas. There are 18 main Puranas like Vishnu Puran, Narada Puran, Srimad Bhagavata Puran, Garud Puran, and many others. An equal number of subsidiary Puranas or the sub-Up-Puranas. The Agamas are the theological treatises and practical manuals of divine worship. The Agamas include the Tantras, Mantras, and Yantras. These are treatises explaining the external worship of God in ideal and temples. Darshanas are the school of philosophy based on Vedas. The Darshanas are meant for the erudite scholars who are endowed with acute acumen, good understanding, power of the reasoning, and subtle intellect. Philosophy has 6 divisions or Shad Darshanas. The 6 darshanas or the ways of things usually called the 6 systems or 6 different schools of thought. They are the Nyaya, founded by Gautam Rishi, Vaishishka by Kanna Rishi, Sankhya by Kapil Muni, the Yoga by Patanjali Maharishi, the Purva Mimamsa by Jaimini, and the Uttar Mimamsa or Vedant by Badrayan or Vyas. The secular writing are composed of wise sayings, instructions and stories, either in poetry or in prose, like the poetical kavyas are those of Kalidas, etc. These constitute the entirety of Sanskrit literature, sacred and secular. The Shruti is the root, the Smritis, Itihas and Puranas are the trunk, the Agamas and the Darshanas are the branches, and the Subhashritas, Kavyas, Natakas and Alankars are the flowers of the tree of Indian culture. Let's next talk about the Hindu Dharma. The word dharma is derived from the root dhra, to hold, and its etymological meaning is that which holds. This world or the people of the world, or the whole creation from the microcosm to the macrocosm. Dharma is generally defined as righteousness or duty. Dharma is the principle of righteousness. It is the principle of holiness. It is also the principle of unity. Bhishma says in his instructions to Yudhishthira that whatever creates conflicts is adharma, and whatever puts an end to conflict and brings about unity and harmony is dharma. That which elevates one is dharma. Dharma is that which helps you to have direct communion with the Lord. Self-realization is considered the highest dharma. Of the 4 grand objects of human aspiration or the Purusharthas, these are the Dharma, Arth, Kam and Moksha. Dharma is given the foremost rank in the scriptures. Dharma alone is the gateway to moksha, to immortality, infinite bliss, supreme peace and highest knowledge. Hinduism prescribes different duties for different people. Dharma depends upon time, circumstances, age, degree of evolution and community to which one belongs. There are conditions under which dharma may change its usual course. Apad dharma is such a deviation from the usual practice. Broadly, dharma can be classified under 2 heads: Samanya or the general, universal dharma, which consists of basically contentment, non-violence, forgiveness, self-restraint, non-stealing, purity, control of senses, discrimination between right and wrong, truthfulness and absence of anger. These come under the general or universal dharma. Then they are called Vishesh or the specific, personal dharma. The rules of the caste and the orders of life are basically specific dharmas. Dharmas assumes various kinds also, like Sanatan dharma, which is the eternal law, Samanya dharma or the general duty, Vishesh dharma is a special duty, Varnashrama dharma, which is the duties of the caste and order, Swadharma, which is your own duty, Yug dharma, duty of the age, Kul dharma, duty of the family, Manav dharma, duty of the man, Purush dharma, duty of male, Stri dharma, duty of a female, Raj dharma, duty of the king, Praja dharma, duty of the subjects, Pravrti dharma, duty in worldly life, and Nivriti dharma, duty in spiritual life. So we see the diversity of the concept of dharma. Now we move to the 4 castes. The Purush Sukta of the Rig Veda, there is a reference to the divisions of Hindu society into 4 classes. This division is according to the guna and karma. Guna or the quality and karma, the kind of works, determine the caste of the man. There are 3 qualities or guna, which is called, basically classified into sattva, the purity, the rajas, the passion, and tamas, the inertia. The underlying principle in caste system or varna dharma is division of labor. Rishis studied human nature carefully. They came to the conclusion that all men were not equally fit for all kinds of work. Hence, they found it necessary to allocate different kinds of duties to different classes of people according to their aptitude, capacity or quality. The Brahmins were in charge of spiritual and intellectual affairs. The work of political administration and defense was given to Kshatriyas. The Vaishyas were entrusted with the duty of supplying food for the nation and administering its economic welfare. The Shudras did menial work, however, it is also said that character determined the caste. So a Brahmin is not a Brahmin if he is not endowed with purity and good character, and if he leads a life of dissipation and immortality. A Shudra is a Brahmin if he leads a virtuous and pious life. The 4 ashramas. There are 4 ashrams or stages in life. Basically, Brahmacharya or the period of studentship, Grahastha or the stage of householder, Vanaprastha or the stage of forest dweller or hermit, and Sannyas or the life of renunciation or asceticism. Each stage has its own duties. These stages help the evolution of man. The 4 ashrams take man to perfection by successive stages. The practice of the 4 ashrams regulates a life from the beginning to the end. The first 2 ashrams pertain to Pravritti Marg or the path of work, and the later 2 stages, the life of Vanaprastha and that of Sannyas, are the stages of withdrawal from the world. They pertain to the Nivritti Marg or the path of renunciation. Now we move to the next heading, which is called the Hindu ethics. The mark of dharma is achar or good conduct. Morality or ethics is the science of conduct. Ethics is right conduct or sadachar. We have human morality, family morality, social morality, national morality, professional morality, and others. Every religion has its ethics. The Sermon on the Mount of Jesus and the 10 Commandments contain ethical teachings for the uplift of man. The Noble Eightfold Path of the Buddha is the essence of ethics. The yams, the niyams of Patanjali Maharishi constitute the highest ethics. Manusmriti, Prasarasmriti contain the code of conduct for man. The 3 kinds of austerity of the Gita are nothing but ethics in its intensified form. The basic of Hindu ethics is this, which is very common and popular. There is one all-pervading Atman. It is the innermost soul of all beings. This is the common, pure consciousness. If you enjoy your neighbor, you really enjoy yourself. If you injure any other creature, you really injure yourself. Because the whole world is nothing but your own self. This is Hindu ethics. This is the basic metaphysical truth that underlies all Hindu ethical codes. The next major heading we move to is Hindu tenets. All life, according to Hinduism, is governed by the law of birth, death, and rebirth. All life must return to the world after death. This law is called the wheel of life or samsara, and it applies to all living beings, not just human life. The goal of life for Hindus is ultimately to be freed from the wheel of life. This liberation from the cycle of rebirth is called moksha. According to this belief, Hindus can be reborn in a higher state of life, moving gradually upward from lifetime to lifetime. How someone is reborn is determined by the law of karma, that whatever one does in life affects what one will be in the next. The best way to ensure good karma and so a favorable rebirth is to perform good deeds and follow one's duty of dharma or the code of conduct. The law of karma, which is very important now we discussed. Karma means not only action but also the result of an action. The consequences of an action is really not a separate thing. It is a part of the action and cannot be divided from it. Breathing, thinking, talking, seeing, hearing, eating, all are karmas. Karma is a sum total of our acts, both in the present life and in the preceding births. The law of karma is one of the fundamental doctrines not only in Hinduism but also in Buddhism and Jainism. The law of karma means the law of causation. Wherever there is a cause, there an effect must be produced. Desires produces karma. One work and exert to acquire the objects of one desires. Karma produces its fruits as pain or pleasure. One will have to take births after births to reap the fruits of one's karmas. This is the law of karma. If one does an evil action, he or she must suffer for it. If one does a good action, he or she must get happiness. There is no power on this earth which can stop the actions from yielding their fruits. Karma is basically divided into three kinds. Sanchit or the accumulated works, Prarabdha or the fructifying works, and Kriyamana or Agami, that is the current works. Sanchita is all the accumulated karmas of the past. Prarabdha is that portion of the past karma which is responsible for the present body. It cannot be avoided or changed. It is only exhausted by being experienced. Kriyanama is that karma which is now being made for the future. The whole lot of Sanchita karma is destroyed by attaining knowledge of Brahman, or the eternal Agami karma can be destroyed by selfless work or Akarta Sakshi Bhav. Thus, Hindu religion is based on the supremacy of the free will of the individual. The next major belief system of Hindu tradition is the doctrine of reincarnation. The doctrine of reincarnation or transmigration of souls is a fundamental tenet of Hinduism. The word reincarnation literally means embodiment, again, coming again into the physical body. The doctrine of rebirth is a corollary to the law of karma. In a Hindu system of thought, death is not the end of life, but a change of life state. Each soul has a series of births and deaths. Births and deaths will continue till one attains knowledge of the imperishable. Good karmas lead to incarnation into higher spheres and bad karmas into lower. So long as karmas, whether good or bad, are not exhausted, men do not attain moksha or the final emancipation. After the death, the soul migrates with the astral body or sukshma sharir. This subtle body carries with it all sorts of sanskaras or impressions and vasanas or tendencies of the individual soul. The subtle body moves towards heaven. When the fruits of good karmas have been exhausted, it gathers for itself a new physical body and reincarnates on this earth plane. Those whose conduct has been good attain good births, and those whose conduct has been evil births and are thrown into sinful wombs or lower births. Desires are the chains that tie one to this wheel of sansar or the bhavya chakra or rounds of birth and death. When these desires cease to exist, an individual attains moksha or emancipation from the cycle of birth and death. This person is known as the Jivan Mukt or liberated stage. Now we'll know more about the Brahman. Hindu believe in an underlying unity of all reality. In the early Vedic period of Hinduism history, this unity was thought to be fire, and fire was the origin of all things. Later on, with the Upanishads, the great shift in Hindu belief was that consciousness or transcendent unity of everything was called Brahman. Brahman is the power that sustains the universe and is the deepest reality. Because humans are conscious beings, Hinduism holds that the self is Brahman. The self that people experience in their consciousness is one with the Brahman, the reality of the universe. For Hindus, by going beyond their bodies, beyond their thoughts and feelings, they discover their true selves. Hindus call this true self Atman. Hindus believe that each Atman is a fragment of the divine Brahman. Everyone, therefore, is part of the divine. Brahman, it is said, it is like an ocean. Maya, avidya or illusion keeps humans away from realizing this consciousness. Next is the major heading of Hindu rituals and practices. There are many Hindu rituals and practices which we follow. The first is the Sandhyopasana. Sandhyopasana literally means worship at the junctions of the time. It is a prayer and worship offered to the Lord at the junction or the sandhi of night and morning, forenoon and afternoon, and the junction of evening and night. The Arghya Pradhana to the sun and the meditation on and recitation of Gayatri form the heart of the worship. Properly understood, the whole Sandhya is an earnest prayer addressed to the Lord to forgive all one's sins committed during one's routine, daily activities, and to bestow illumination and grace. Next in line is the sanskars. The rites that pertain to the stages of life of man are called the sanskars. The sanskars are purificatory rites which sanctified the life of a Hindu. They give a spiritual touch to the important events in the life of the individual, from conception to cremation. They mark the important stages of a man's life. There are 52 sanskars. Among these, 11 are important. Some of them are Garbhadan, Jatkarma, Namkarma, Upnayan, Vivaha, and Anteshti. Next in line is the Yagnas. There are 5 great daily sacrifices that are to be performed by every householder. They are Brahma Yagna, called the Veda Yagna, sacrifice to the Brahman or the Vedas or the sages. Dev Yagna, sacrifice to the celestials. Pitra Yagna, sacrifice to the mains. Bhut Yagna, sacrifice to all the creatures. And Manushya Yagna, sacrifice to men. The performance of these 5 yagnas is conducive to the spiritual evolution or growth of a man. He gradually learns that he is not a separate entity or isolated creature or isolated unit, but is a part of a great whole. These yagnas are carried out through the following activities. Teaching and study of scriptures is Brahma Yagna. Tarpana or offering of water to the ancestors and Shraddh form the Pitra Yagna. Home or oblations to the fire is Dev Yagna. Bali or offering of food to all creatures is Bhuta Yagna. And hospitality to guests is Manushya Yagna or Atithi Yagna. Worship is the next ritual. Worship is the expression of devotion, reverence and love to the Lord, of keen yearning to be united with Him, and of spiritual thirsting to hold conscious communion with Him. The devotees praise to the Lord for granting Him intense devotion and removing the veil of ignorance. Singing bhajans, kirtan, fasting, mantra jap, meditation, remembering the Lord are all forms of worship. Worship of the Lord purifies the heart, generates harmonious vibrations, steadies the mind, purifies the emotions, harmonizes the 5 sheaths, and eventually leads to communion, fellowship, or God realization. Worship is the effort on the part of upasak, he who does upasana or worship, to reach the proximity of God or the Supreme Self. Upasana literally means sitting near God. Upasana changes the mental substance, destroys rajas and tamas, and fills the mind with sattva or purity. The next ritual is the puja or the idol worship. Puja is the common term for ritual worship, of which there are numerous synonyms such as archana, vandana, bhajan, etc. Though some of these stress certain aspects of it. The object of worship is the Isht Devata or guiding deity, or the particular form of the deity whom the devotee worships. An object is used in the outer puja such as an image or pratima, or a picture such as shaligram in the case of Vishnu worship, or linga in the case of worship of Shiva. An image or one of the usual emblems is likely to raise in the mind of the worshipper the thought of a devata. The most important part of Hindu tradition is the paths to God realization. The ultimate goal of Hinduism is moksha, or liberation from the eternal cycle of rebirth. But how can Hindus reach this goal? To answer this, Hindus turn to Bhagavad Gita. In it, Shri Krishna described 3 yogas that lead to liberation. The 4 main spiritual paths underlined in Hindu religion for God realization are Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raj Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga is the path of action. It is the path of detached service. It is the way that leads to the attainment of God through selfless work. It is the yoga of renunciation of the fruits of action. Karma Yoga is suitable for man of active temperament. Bhakti is intense love of God. Bhakti Yoga is the path of devotion. Love for love's sake is the motto or formula for Bhakti yogis. This path is for a man of devotional temperament. Raj Yoga is the path that leads to union with the Lord through self-restraint and control of mind. Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi are the 8 limbs of Raj Yoga. This path is for a man of mystic temperament. Jnana Yoga is the path of knowledge. Moksha is attained through knowledge of Brahman. Release is achieved through realization of the identity of the individual soul with the Supreme Soul. The cause for bondage and suffering is avidya or ignorance. Knowledge of the Brahman or the Brahma Gyan removes this vile. The path of Jnana Yoga is for a man of rational and philosophical temperament or a man of inquiry. This brings us to the next most important topic, which is the Hindu philosophy. Philosophy is the rational aspect of religion. It is an integral part of religion in India. It is a rational inquiry into the nature of truth or reality. Hindu philosophy deals with transcendental matters, the matter of death, the secret of immortality, the nature of the soul, the creator and the world. A clear understanding of man's relation to God is a matter of momentous importance to the philosophers, prophets, sages, saints, thinkers, acharya and great religious leaders. Various schools of philosophy and different kinds of religious beliefs have come into existence, an account of various explanations given by different philosophers. The 6 systems of Indian philosophy, or the Shad Darshanas, are the 6 orthodox systems of philosophy. The orthodox systems of philosophy believe in the authority of the Vedas. They are the 6 ways of looking at the truth. They are the Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa or the Vedanta. The heterodox system of philosophy do not believe in the authority of Vedas. The 6 heterodox system of philosophy are the materialistic school of Charvaka, the system of the Jain, Buddhist, which is further divided into Vaibhavishikas, Sautranikas, Yogcharas, Madhyamanikas. The school of Vedanta are further divided into Kevaladvaita philosophy of Sri Shankaracharya, the philosophy of qualified monism or Vishishtadvaita of Sri Ramanujacharya, the Dvaita philosophy of Sri Madhavacharya, the Bheda-Abheda philosophy of Sri Nimbakaracharya, the Shuddha Advaita philosophy of Sri Vallabhacharya. The different systems of thought highlight the conception of God, soul and universe, the nature of self, the cause of bondage and the means of emancipation. They all contemplate on the Supreme Being and its characteristics, relation between the individual soul and the Supreme Soul, the Jeev and its attributes, the relationship of the world and the Brahman and the salvation. Now we move to the Hindu mythology, which consists of the gods and the deities. Hindus believe that there is only one God or the Supreme Being, but that this being is manifested in many different forms, which are called deities. Each deity is one of many different expressions of the divine. In other words, each deity represents a different facet of the Supreme Deity or eternal spirit or the Brahman. According to some Hindu traditions, 3 of these deities together symbolize the cycle of existence, Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and the Shiva, the destroyer. The male deities often have female partners. Without the feminine side, these deities are seen as incomplete. Thus, Vishnu is often pictured with his partner Lakshmi, Shiva with Parvati, Ganesh with Riddhi and Siddhi. All the female deities embody a strong cosmic feminine energy known as Shakti. Shakti is represented in different forms. She is Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Kali, Chandi, Chamundi, and Rajeshwari. Each deity can have other avatars, descend into the world in earthly form, with distinctive symbols that are associated with them. Thus, Krishna and Ram are considered as avatars of Vishnu. Radha and Sita are considered as avatars of Shakti. Many Hindus devote themselves primarily to one personal deity, such as Vishnu or Shiva, as the highest and most perfect form of Brahman. They are called the Ishtadeva. This brings us to the end of the summary of the Hindu tradition. Let's discuss some of the conclusory thoughts now. The assertion of the essential divinity of man is the heart of Hinduism. This life is essentially a divine worship. The great truth and basic premise of Hinduism is the immortality of the soul and the continuance of life after birth. The ideal of the social ethics of the Bhagavad Gita is Lok Sangraha, the well-being and solidarity of the world. This is brought about by each individual through the performance of Swadharma in the spirit of non-attachment and self-surrender, and with the knowledge of the immutable nature of the Atman. The Gita at the very outset declares that the Atman cannot be destroyed. It is a gospel of non-attachment, the immortality of the soul, and the ultimate freedom of the self in the absolute. It is the sacred teachings on the all-inclusive inwardness of the spirit. The indispensability of non-attachment follows from the fact of the oneness of existence. The Hindu scriptures recognize the temperamental diversities among individuals and the consequent classification of duties suited to their evolutionary stages, which determine their guna and karma. The stages of life differ in different persons, and their dharma or duties in life are based upon these stages of individual development. Swadharma is the duty prescribed to a person in accordance with the stage of life in which he is placed, not by any other person or persons, but by his own inner characteristics which he manifests in his daily behavior and action. Dharma, which is the ethical value governing the individual, exalts him to moksha, which is the infinite value and the goal of life. Everyone is expected to conform to dharma, which supports life and which shall protect him who protects it through dispassionate practice. The fourfold social classification is also meant to ensure a happy and loving union and fellowship among all people, who due to their inherent tendencies show their fitness for every varying activities in life and not a general equality in thought and deed. The knowledge about Hindu practices, beliefs, philosophy can be summarized in the words of a foreign thinker. Hinduism is hardly a dogma, but a working hypothesis of a human conduct adopted to different stages of spiritual development and different conditions of life. All tenets, rituals, practices are formulated to help the individual move towards one's true nature or self. Hinduism in the next millennium also will be challenged to define itself with precision and in relation to a variety of competing choices. Its primary rivals today are those alternative worldviews that deny a transcendent character to human existence, and those value systems that glorify greed and the economic systems based on it. Successful strategies and agencies needs to be developed to ensure transmission from one generation to another. There is a need for committed teachers who have a background in the intellectual disciplines and critical methods of East and West, and who can bring these to bear creatively in their reflection on the Hindu tradition. Communities, parents, and educational institutions will have to encourage and support young men and women who evince interest and aptitude for the study and teachings of respective religions and its relevance to how a life is lived. This module is an effort in this direction so that knowledge attained from the concept of karma, non-attachment to the fruits of action, dharma, reincarnation, Brahman, Atman, can be applied for the betterment of one's own life and those of others in the world. Thank you.